The story begins with the revelation that Suo has recently placed its destiny in the hands of a sole individual, Jiang Shuwan, the guild master of Zhenghua. Amidst a battle against the global adversary Shin Kangyu, Jiang stands alone, a solitary figure against the impending threat. Jiang is determined to fight for his people and be the voice of justice, whereas Shin is constantly provoking Jiang. Determined, Jiang mentions that he will always fight for his people, and soon the crowd starts cheering Jiang up. Getting even more motivated, Jiang mentions that he will keep fighting as long as he hears such chants, and immediately after strikes a blow on Shin, which results in Shin getting seriously injured. As the moment unfolds, Shin is kneeling down as Jiang approaches him. The crowd then starts chanting that they always had their faith in Jiang. Shortly after, the crowd starts chanting for Jiang to kill Shin off. The chants get even stronger as the crowd picks up the courage. Jiang then looks over at Shin and mentions to him that every single person wants him dead. He then proceeds to prepare a blow as he summons a magic attack, and in no time, Jiang proceeds to strike the blow at Shin, all the while mentioning to him that this is his end. Soon as the blow strikes Shin, he dies instantly, and soon Jiang mentions to the spectators that all their preparations have finally borne fruit. Moreover, Jiang believes that the perfect freedom will now descend upon this land. The crowd gets teary-eyed after hearing such a revelation. However, something really unexpected occurs, and a humongous hand starts descending from the heights of the red sky. The crowd immediately realizes the dangers and start running to places just to save their lives, and meanwhile, Jiang is excited as he knows that this is the Demon King descending. Furthermore, as the Demon King is descending, Jiang looks over at Shin and finds that he is still alive. He then emphasizes on Shin to look at his creation and the just world that he has created. As this moment unfolds, the entire world perishes into bits and pieces. It seems as if the reader's expectations have been crushed. The protagonist, Jiang Shuwan, was actually a henchman of the Demon King, and he and his comrades, the 13 stars, were all top-level, long-standing evils. However, as it is well known that fiction is nothing but a mirror reflecting reality, this novel's motive is actually the author's own life as a student. That was the time when the author saw authority that could even cover up school violence and the true face of the world, power that could overturn good and evil. For that reason, the author has incorporated that reality in this novel, but it can't be helped after all, since the commentators have been using harsh and nasty words on the author. It seems like the author can't get such mean comments out of his head, even when he is just trying to sleep. However, at this point, the author can't even rewrite the story. Moreover, he is just trying to get himself to sleep when suddenly it starts getting noisy, and the author appears to have entered a dream sequence. A group of people is beating up a few other workers while one of them mentions about Eclipse's grace. The author realizes as soon as he hears Eclipse and is disappointed to see that they haven't even left him alone in his dreams either. One of the officers approaches the author and starts beating the crap out of him, and the author appears to recognize the officer. What's more is that the author is getting hurt even after getting hit in his dream. Soon as the officers leave, a man, the author's co-worker, refers to him as Kangyu and asks him if he is okay. Yes, the author is now the so-called evil, Shin Kangyu, who now has the power to absorb mana at will. Moreover, Shin recognizes the man asking for his well-being from his life, and thus establishes that this is around 5 years before the Demon King descended. Shin wonders that if he would have possessed Jiang, then it must be exciting, but soon realizes that towards the end, only his followers could be saved. Moreover, Shin now realizes that he has to change the ending, and the good thing is that he knows how to escape this place. After possessing Shin, the author feels like Shin's past and experiences are his. Moreover, Shin is now on level 10, have no constellation, his class is assassin, and both of his skills, short distance leap and traverse teleportation, are at level 1. Furthermore, Shin doesn't have a good enough stamina anymore. Shortly after, the co-worker from earlier once again asks Shin if he is okay and if he needs a break. However, Shin mentions that if these guys wanted them to rest, then they wouldn't have dragged them there in the first place. In this detention center, created by the criminal organization Eclipse, rookie hunters who can use mana are forced to work like a slave to mine mana stones. Meanwhile, Shin asks his co-worker to stop worrying about him, and moreover, he even tries to help him by hinting him to stop being reckless, as Shin is aware about the cause of his death. This co-worker is actually a character that the author created as a motive for him, but the author can't make any changes to the novel yet for the sake of his escape. Later on, as Shin is making his way with the stones on his wheelbarrow, he sees a crazy bastard, the same co-worker whom Shin hinted earlier to not be reckless, attempting to escape when the guard's attention was focused on the newbies. However, the escapee gets caught by the warden, who then mentions to him that he will take responsibility for doing crazy things. The warden then proceeds to kill him off while stabbing him on his back. Shortly after, the warden, who doesn't like Shin, once again tries to provoke him into saying something so that he can have the opportunity to kill Shin off too. However, unexpectedly, Shin mentions that he doesn't care about his coworker dying and moreover asks the warden to let him go to the toilet. The warden then proceeds to direct Shin to the toilet, and upon reaching there, he gives Shin a minute to get done and moreover mentions that if he doesn't, then this place would become his grave. As Shin makes his way to the toilet, he comes across many dead bodies of various workers. Shortly after, Shin starts the summoning process and starts drawing something on the ground with the use of his fingers. Meanwhile, the warden continues the countdown for a minute for Shin. Soon, after performing the summoning process, Shin asks the constellation if he is not curious as to how a low level like him summon him. Moreover, Shin is aware that if he stays there just a little longer like in the novel then, the main constellation would appear later, and if he hesitates a little longer, then the hope that the world is looking for would be further out of reach. This is all what the main constellation would say to persuade Shin to reply to the summon, since he'll become the entertainment that he's looking for. Moreover, Shin also happens to be the only one who's able to use the main constellation's ability the most effectively. Furthermore, Shin appears to be aware of the fact that the main constellation, who made a contract with Shin in the novel, would appear. Soon, the constellation gets convinced and lets Shin to take control of his powers. Shortly after, the warden comes barging on the door to check up on Shin. Meanwhile, Shin has received a perk where all his skills will maintain their maximum proficiency and thus, short-distance leap skill increases from level 1 to max. Moreover, Shin's traverse transportation skill also levels up from 1 to max instantly. Soon, as the warden enters the toilet, he doesn't see anyone there. A moment of fright occupies the warden suddenly, when soon Shin appears from behind and holds the warden's neck using a metal rod and proceeds to suffocate and kill him off. Shin then thanks the warden for giving him an opportunity to escape and proceeds to pick up his sword. Just like that, the contract has been completed and Shin has gotten his revenge as well. Shin then proceeds to place the sword in his scabbard, which then gets followed by a system notification which notifies that a new weapon has been registered. Determined to reach his end goal, Shin has now decided to never look back. As the warden's body lay cold, Shin starts to act up on the plan. The first step is to get and secure himself a rank 2 warden's uniform, and he has done that. Meanwhile, a gasoline can is getting poured out in the room. Step 2 is arson, and Shin proceeds to activate his lighter and drops it over the gasoline. Moreover, step 3 is to escape through none other than the front gate. Meanwhile, outside, the guards notify each other about the fire going in Building 18 as they all wonder about who did this. Chaos erupts and the fire department gets called upon as well. Moreover, the senior warden instructs his companions to follow the manual and procs to make their way to the crematorium. Meanwhile, Shin has now made his way amongst the wardens and has disguised himself perfectly. As the van gets started, a warden inquires to Shin if he is the replacement for the rank 2 warden that was assigned to them, and Shin confirms this. Additionally, Shin mentions that someone escaped and ran through the fence on the northwest side of that building. Upon hearing this, the driver immediately starts the way and begins their departure. The path that actually heads northwest from the fence is Chungmyeon Mountain. At first glance, it looks like a good escape route due to it being dark, unguarded, and complicated, but in reality, it is brimming with traps laid by Eclipse, making it the most dangerous route. Shin has decided to use this information known exclusively to the wardens and escape. Moreover, Shin proceeds to mention the other fellow wardens that they are trying to catch the escapee on his way out to escape, but even if they can't, then they will find their corpse from Chungmyeon Mountain. Soon, the van gets the clearance and Shin is relieved as he is now going to make his way out of the fence. As the van continues on its way, one of the wardens inquired of Shin as to how long he has been on duty in Building 18. In response, Shin mentions that he came the day before yesterday. Upon hearing this, the warden then mentions to Shin that he must be in Unit 9 before getting assigned to Building 18, and Shin confirms this as well. Unfortunately, there is no such thing as Unit 9 as the warden mentions this. Shin immediately realizes that he has been caught as he proceeds to place a hand on his sword, ready to take it out when needed. As the van proceeds on its way, Shin immediately pulls out his sword from his scabbard and proceeds to engage in a fight with the wardens. Shin manages to kill off one of the wardens with no such hurdles, however he takes some time when killing the second one. Shin, towards the end, manages to strike his sword through the car mirror and through the warden's heart, killing him instantly. However, a patrol car arrives from behind, leading Shin to act swiftly as he immediately slides off of a cliff and proceeds to land safely without taking any fall damage whatsoever. Soon as Shin recollects his position, a man in a sinister voice expresses his impressiveness for Shin managing to kill 2 wardens and escape. As Shin lifts up his gaze, he sees a grim smile on the man's face who is also holding a sharpened metallic axe. Shin then notices the red dot above the man's head, and he immediately realizes that the man is a hunter who is in a contract with a constellation. Shin moreover wonders as to what the hunter's powers are. As he proceeds to discover it, Shin sees a system window appear over the hunter's head, which indicates that the hunter has a neutral-leaning constellation. What's more is that Shin discovers through the system window that the hunter is a constellation who has the ability to trick mana, and Shin immediately realizes that via this ability, the hunter was able to find him this easily. With a smile on his face, and since Shin can see who the hunter is contract with, Shin appears to be excited as one of his skills grants Shin the ability to loot others for their contracted constellation. Furthermore, Shin gets the clearance from the system that he can loot this hunter, and Shin wastes no time in activating his constellation loot skill for the first time since his reincarnation.